Call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. I want to acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As a council and a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I'll ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on June 10th, 2024 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Doyle, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have one delegation this evening. If we could ask if you could just come up to the mic. We have Trista White from BDO here to report on our financial report. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today to present the 2023 financial report for the City of Portage la Prairie. This report will provide a brief overview of the financial operations of the City of Portage la Prairie for the year ended December 31st, 2023. Page 6 of the consolidated financial statements is the statement of operations, which shows a summary of revenues and expenses for the year. Highlights and areas of note related to the statement of operations include the following. The scope of services provided in the form of user fees, permits, other revenue, etc. increased as a whole. Investment income experienced a large increase over prior year due to corresponding increase in reserve fund balances. The city saw an increased receipt of provincial grant funding. The majority of the grant funding was recognition of conditional grant revenue related to the Saskatchewan Avenue West project and other infrastructure upgrades. There was also a grant received to construct a daycare in 2023. The grant funding was spent within the fiscal year on tangible capital assets. On the expense side, most areas of municipal expenses, such as general government services, protective and recreational and cultural, experienced increases due to provision of services to the city. This expected increase was reflected at the time of budgeting. Page 5 of the consolidated financial statements shows the statement of financial position, a snapshot of where the city sits financially at the end of 2023. Highlights of financial items from the statement of financial position include net additions to tangible capital assets were over $24 million, the majority of which was related to the Saskatchewan Avenue West project, funded by provincial grant dollars and an $8.35 million debenture issuance. Daycare construction and other infrastructure upgrades are also included in tangible capital asset additions. The city received a provincial grant in the amount of $38.5 million for water treatment plant expansion. A reserve fund was established to hold these funds, and they're reflected as unearned revenue until the funds are expended. There was also a large increase in cash, the majority of which is related to the water treatment plant funding, received just before year end and restricted for use on capital utility upgrades. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions or comments for Ms. White? No? I just say thank you for coming out and presenting to us. It's very important to us that we're transparent as a council, and having you here in open council is important. Thank you for the work on our audit. We're pleased with what we've seen for sure, and we want to give a big thank you to our finance team with the city for working with you on it and giving us a nice, clean, clear audit this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will open a public hearing for request for variation PC 26-24 Niles at 655 First Street Northwest. I will ask if there is anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Thank you. Okay, if you just could give us your name.
Hi, sorry, I'm Mark Niles, the homeowner at the subject property.
Excellent. Did you want to make a statement?
Yeah, so it's just a small setback reduction that we're requesting to put a deck across the front of our building, the front of our property. It's just a modest deck is what we're looking for. And as it was pointed out by the planning district when I applied for the permit, this deck would actually put the front of our property with the same as the neighbors. So it would actually be sort of fully in line, and the sight lines would be slightly better on our property. So again, it's just a small setback reduction we're looking for.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone have any question for Mr. Niles? No, so thank you. I'll just comment. I appreciate that you're here. We always find it important that when people are making we're having a public hearing, it's great to be here to answer questions that we have. So thanks for taking the time. Awesome. I'll ask if anybody else is here to speak in favor of the application. Is there anyone here to speak against the application? Is there anyone here with any questions? Okay, I will then ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that the public hearing for variation PC 26-24 for Niles at 1st Street Northwest now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and of course to the Planning Economic Development Committee, file number PC 26-24. Issue, as you heard the applicant already address, is to vary the front yard requirement, which is required at 7.5 meters, and wants to reduce it down to 5 meters. As always, approve the variation or deny the variation. But the background is quite simply the applicant would like to build a deck on the front, which would actually reduce the requirement from 7.5 to 5 meters in order to get that happen. For council's information, the building is in an R1 residential single-family zone. The site plan and the sketch are there for your reference as well. And as you can see, there have been many requests for this, and some of them posted there, or the minutes was for your reference, that followed exactly the same pattern. With that said, the application had been circulated to various city departments. There had been no concerns, and as you can see, there had been no objections. Public notices, as you said, has also been sent out to all the property owners. So with that said, and it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Mark Niles to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 5 meters for a front deck at the property known as 655 1st Street Northwest, which is legally described as lots 3-4, block 3, plan 343 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments, Council? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we will have another public hearing that'll open. It's a request for conditional use PC-24 Nichols at 124 Lorne Avenue East, City Planning Economic Development Committee. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Again, anyone here in favor of the application? Okay. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak against the application. Oh yes, so if you just want to come and please state your name.
Can
Sorry,
you hear me now?
Yeah. Your name
Okay.
again?
Patricia Bergen.
Patricia Bergen, thank you.
Jesus, we're Toastmasters would come in handy. I just got word on this today. I was going through flyers, and lo and behold, now it's in regards to my neighbors to the east of me wanting to convert their garage into a suite.
Mm-hmm.
The existing house has a upstairs and bottom suite already. Now the way the lots are put, like their garage, I don't know if they have any, if they're moving it or, but it kind of, they jut out. I own the lot in the back, plus a lot like along Lorne Avenue. I just think it's a big privacy issue. Like it's right there. Where I do have plans in the future to put a driveway that would, and a garage, that would come directly basically in front of them. Yeah, it's kind of a, Do you have a, okay.
Which direction do you live from that, Patricia? If you want to just speak into the mic. Patricia, can you just sort of go to the mic? Sorry, and then yeah, if you can do it from there.
Okay, okay. All right. Oh. Where is it?
So you're on the east side of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that blue one outlined. Here, can I try that pointer again?
So if you look on the right-hand side of the screen there, Patricia, there's it's kind of zoomed in there now. Yeah.
I'll use my finger. Okay, I'm in this right there, and the property right behind it is what I own. As you can see on the jutted outline, where the jut is, that's where the garage is. So it's like right behind, right there, on lawn. It's lawn right now. And I don't see if, I can't see how it can be done without any kind of interference on my part. Like, I mean, even now, I mean, it's not bad, but there's been like an infringement on properties. I haven't bothered saying anything about it, except, I mean, they're not allowed to smoke inside, so they would stand outside and throw their butts on my lawn. So in the springtime, I got like 200 butts to clean up. I did speak with the owner about it, and it's been good. The tenants there have been good. I'm just wondering, it's going to be awfully cramped there. You know, I'm kind of surprised he didn't bring it up to me to begin with. I mean, I'm not totally against it, but until I find some sort of how he's going to work that, you know, I'm kind of against it.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that okay? Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor SB?
I'm not sure who to address this to, Your Worship, but I do have a couple of questions. I'm a little confused because the report would indicate that they're moving in their mother, but it also appears that this is tenant occupied. So I'm wondering who actually lives in the existing building.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Gessel, would you know the answer to that?
As far as the original house that is there, it was my understanding that the people that have applied for it, the Nichols, live in the home. And what was stated to us was they were looking at converting the garage into a suite for their mother-in-law to live in while she's under care. Just as she's getting older, they want to take care of her and convert the whole garage into a suite. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of other renters in the home. At this point, that's news to me, unless somebody at the district has different information than I do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor SB?
This is one of those situations where it would be helpful if the applicant was here, because I do have questions, because one of our speakers tonight had indicated that there was a suite upstairs and a suite downstairs already, which would just make this a third addition. And I would have lots of questions about that. But my other question is, why would there need to be a reapplication if there is a change of ownership?
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Espy, that was a suggestion by administration The concern for a change of ownership is if it was indeed used for a mother-in-law's suite, there is different standards for a mother-in-law's suite typically. And if it was a rental unit, so if there was a change of ownership, somebody may think they can use that as a rental unit without the permissions. So we would want the new owner to come to council and ask for permission again, because although they could have a mother-in-law as well, it would be more likely seen as a revenue suite that they could use, and they would need express permission to do that. So that was the intention of administration, to put that in the clause, that a new owner would have to come back, reapply, because in all likelihood they would be looking at that as a revenue suite and not as a secondary suite for a family member.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess the question that I have is, if it does pass, what has to be changed in there for health safety issues? And have those already been addressed as part of this?
Mr. Pito?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Meyer, the changes for it to be a rental suite is there has to be additional smoke and carbon dioxide detectors, and that it has to be initially inspected by the fire department.
That satisfies my question. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question for, sorry, I've forgotten her name. Patricia, please.
If you could come back to the mic, please.
Through Your Worship. Thank you, Patricia. Do you own both those properties east of, or just like on the?
Can you see on the right side of the screen, Patricia? Yeah, that's a close-up of the property.
Okay, I own the.
The whole strip adjacent to the garage as well. The two properties you own?
Oh, you gotta just go back to the mic. Sorry, Patricia. You're on TV, in case you didn't know. So.
Sorry, Patricia. Thank you.
Okay, are you watching? Yeah, I own it side by side on Lorne Avenue East, and also there's a string of properties that run along behind us. They own two of them, and I did own two, but I sold one to a friend, neighbor, because it was just too much grass to cut for 3 lots. But you rose a question with, he wanted to use it as a mother-in-law suite. Well, these are like there's people living upstairs. There's a couple living upstairs. I'm not really sure who's living downstairs, but there's somebody down there.
Okay.
Now, if it was a mother-in-law suite, wouldn't you want to be living right close to your mother?
Yeah. Councillor Nichols, did you have another question?
Yeah, just one more. Thank you. So you own the one property right beside the house, correct?
Right.
And the property do you have a fence there at all? Is there a fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a fence we put up with the previous, I put up with the previous neighbors before she passed away. So yeah, they have the 2 lots, I have the one, and I had the previous one. Now that fence, when they approached me about it, it wasn't what I was expected. I did pay half the cost on that, but you can see right through it. I mean, that would kind of have to be closed off somehow, because yeah, you can see right through it. There's not much action back there, but it's just the way the garage is situated. Not only would they have to get the fire department checking for stuff, but they're going to have to, there's no water lines to it.
Okay.
There was a sand pump back there. It hasn't been used for years. But yeah, it's just a big old garage, just kind of just sitting there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again. Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. Question to administration. If the application was approved and the mother did move into the suite, what would prevent the owners from renting it out if the mother happened to move out of it and have it become an income suite?
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Doyle, assuming that wasn't declared to the city, it would be difficult for the city to know who is in the suite. So we are on the assumption of good faith it would be used for a family member. If it was found not to be a family member, then fire department, I believe, would be given notice as a rental suite, could inspect it, and then have requirements to be met. And that would not be in compliance with this resolution that council's passing.
Councillor Porter?
So just to clarify, is to administration, is there a difference between having a in-law suite versus a rental suite? Just for clarification.
Mr. Pito?
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Porter, perhaps this may be best answered by either Mr. Gessel or Fire Chief Bailey. The biggest difference is some additional life and safety protections. I had mentioned the carbon monoxide smoke detector, initial inspection from the fire department, and I believe also a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher is required to be on premise. But if Mr. Gessel or Fire Chief Bailey would like to add anything additional that I'm missing, please do.
That is correct what Mr. Pito said. It does fall under different life safety regulations when you move into a rental property, which involves inspections through the fire department. Could be yearly or 2 years, depending on circumstance. And they do fall under that. I'll let Mr. or Chief Bailey speak to that further, though, as far as the regulations.
Yeah. Basically the same thing. Once it comes into our jurisdiction, then there is fire and life safety rules that have to apply that are above and beyond what a normal residence will have. So at that point, they would be subject to a fire inspection.
Councillor Espy?
I guess I'm just a little confused because in all my time on council, I've never seen anyone apply for a mother-in-law suite. It's always been a secondary suite because that's what our bylaw speaks to. I'm wondering if we do have a bylaw that I'm not aware of that actually covers an in-law suite.
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Espy, I would maybe pass that question off to Mr. Gessel to ask why this was, how this is covered under the provision of the building bylaw.
In a circumstance where it was applied for, it's considered an in-law suite because it's separate from the home at this point. It's similar to a garden suite that you would apply for if you're on your property, if you wanted to build a separate unit as a garden suite. Because it's an existing garage, a unit already there, they're converting the whole unit and adding some plumbing to it to convert it into an in-law suite.
Councillor Espy?
But is that a city bylaw, through your worship?
Mr. Gessel?
Yes, it is under the city. I don't have the exact bylaw off the top of my head right in front of me or right here. I'd have to go back through the bylaw book to pull that out.
Councillor Espy?
I will say that at this time, unless this gets tabled, I can't support it because I just don't have the information that I require to make an educated vote on this subject.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship, and that's exactly what I would like to make a motion, Your Worship, that we table this.
Just 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll have to close the public hearing first, correct? And then,
I apologize, Your Worship.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Is there Councillor Espy?
My apologies, Your Worship. I'm just a matter of process. If we close the public hearing, do we reopen a public hearing at the next council meeting?
Through your worship to Councillor Espy. So the typical procedure would be to close the public hearing, and then the hearing has been held on the issue before council. Then there would be no need to repost and have another hearing. Council tabled, if the information is strictly coming from administration and not from additional delegations, council could reasonably make a decision on it in favor or against, and it be supported legislatively.
Councillor Espy?
My one issue is that I would like the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant.
through your worship to Councillor Espy, I apologize that the question from the mayor was about can you temporarily halt the public hearing? You should close your public hearing because there's advertisement requirements of the public who are impacted by the decision know when the decision is being made because they have an opportunity to put input. If Councillor Espy, if you have concerns about the information being brought forward and the decision came forward, that I would suggest if a new hearing would probably be more relevant to where the applicant could be, and the most expedient way for you to do that is probably to consider defeating the motion outside of the hearing.
Councillor Espy?
And just another question about process. If we defeat the motion, they would have to file a new application, correct? And there would be a cost associated with that. Is there a way to do this where we just keep this hearing, recess this hearing, or wait till the next meeting to finish it?
I would need a moment to confer with Mr. Gessel on the process of potentially recessing a public hearing that has been advertised and how that works under legislation. So
I'll give you a moment.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come back in.
Thank you through your worship to Councillor Espy. Thank you for your patience. So after conferring with administration, you are able to defer the decision on a public hearing. So you're deferring essentially the public hearing, although all the same requirements of posting and giving notice apply, although the applicant would not have to pay the reapplication fee. So if you so chose to, you could make a motion to defer with a specific date. Now that date has to allow for the requirement of appropriate notice. So that date would be our council meeting in August, which is August 12th. So in your motion, you have to give a specific date. So you would say, I ask for the hearing to be deferred to that date, and it requires a simple majority of council.
Councillor Espy?
Then I would like to make a motion to defer this hearing until August the 12th, 2024.
Moved by Councillor Espy. All those in favor? And do we have to second by Councillor Meyer? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, we will move to our next
If I may, for the benefit of the people who spoke on the issue, so they will receive a notice again in their mailbox indicating when the hearing will resume on August 12th, and hopefully the council will be able to take that information and make a decision at that time.
And we always encourage people to speak to their neighbors prior to that too. Helps. Okay. We will open our third public hearing, a request for variation PC 30-24, Gaitu at 10177-133 Manitoba Limited, 2006 Saskatchewan Avenue West, City Planning and Economic Development. I will ask if there is anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Great, if you want to just come to the mic, please, and state your name.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council, your worship. My name is Arsh. I'm here on the behalf of the said organization.
Could you spell your name, please?
Arsh, yes, absolutely. It's ARSH.
ARSH?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have a statement to make, or do you just want to answer questions?
So our statement is that we bought the Highway Motel, which is next to it. That's 2010 Saskatchewan Avenue, and this is the property right next to it. We have the same staff that works at the motel also helping us out with this location. We're looking to run a car rental business from there. We don't sell any cars. We're not looking to have them parked or stored. They're just going to be rented out, and that's what we're looking to do. Our application says we would like to do an unpaved lot for now. We're not opposed to paving it. We would probably just need a little bit more time since this is a business that has not been started, and I did get the quotes beforehand for it, and they're a little bit higher than what we were expecting. So if we could get some time and then run the business in the meanwhile, we can do that. We're not opposed to even having some gravel. We can do that. So that's where we stand with that. We only need 4 spaces for the vehicles there.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Arsh? Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Worship. Just as far as a matter of time, how much do you think you would need?
Even if I could just get like about 6 months, that's more than enough. We can have it up and running. I've been reading into the Portage market for about 2 years now. We have our main location in Winnipeg. And I just, as a beta testing, we did try to run some ads in Portage. I have a lot of local businesses that are looking to work with us. I've had calls from Portage, people just looking to travel outside to different provinces for summer. Mads and Auto Body, so anytime any of your cars break down and say MPI is fixing it, you would need a vehicle in the meanwhile to like still go around your day. And that's where we come in. So we help you with things like that. So we do get calls. So just that.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle?
Can you repeat what the company name is? You said you were here on behalf of
Town Car Rental.
Town Car Rental? Thank you. And is that the numbered company?
That is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So this is also Bucket Gold. I'm on TV, so.
Oh. I'll ask if there's anyone else here in favor of the application. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak against the application. Sure, come on up. Please state your name.
My name is David Milligan, and this is my wife, Cindy. We own the property that is right next door. We're basically the only ones that would be affected by this. From the map that we've been looking at and looking at the property.
Mr. Milligan, is if you could just speak into the mic the best you could. I know.
I can try. First time.
That's
first
good.
Time. We just have some concerns. Like we are concerned about, there's a dip that goes down at the end of the property. They kind of both go down into it. And we are concerned about having gravel in our yard, gravel chutes. We're not necessarily liking the idea of having cars parked facing our property. People have been known to get in and accidentally go the wrong direction. That's a concern
Keep
of ours.
talking in the mic, sorry.
Sorry, I thought I was.
Yeah.
But I guess our main concern is that a gravel driveway would be so ugly. A paved driveway or a paved parking lot in what used to be a nice yard is going to be as ugly enough. I don't know if they would be willing to build a fence so that it's not so ugly. I have concerns about when they do snow removal in the wintertime, where are they going to put their snow? Is their snow going to end up in our yard? Where's the runoff going to go? Will there be any leakage from the vehicles that could run over into our yard and wreck our nice, beautiful grass that we spend a lot of time taking care of? But I guess those are basically our concerns.
Thank
We
you.
are opposed to it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Just a question
From-
of clarification. Am I assuming that this is already a gravel parking lot?
Correct.
We're not building a new parking lot. It's already it's already an existing.
It's just a
Gravel
driveway.
road.
The rest of it is
Existing
grass
gravel
yard.
Yeah.
It is grass.
Right. So it's already.
There's no parking lot there whatsoever. It's just
But-
a driveway going up to the house.
But parking is allowed there now.
I
Microphone.
guess it's their yard. They can
As
park
in-
wherever
yeah.
they want.
Yeah.
If
Right.
they want to park on the grass, they can park on the grass, right?
Right.
Okay.
As ugly as that might be.
And why is this requirement that it needs to be paved?
Mr. Pito?
So the requirement for,
Sorry, just a second. You can sit down. Thank you.
through your worship to Councillor Meyer, so the requirement, it is in a C3 zone, although it is currently a residential home or there's a home on the property, they are changing it for a business use. And since it has a business use, there's a requirement, and the change of use is a requirement to pave appropriately for that business use, and that's why there's a requirement here, and that they're asking for the exception or request for variation, I should say.
I understand. Am I also understanding, thank you, Your Worship, also understanding that the building is already in a C3 Avenue commercial zone? So I'm just wondering what the change is.
The change is primarily the use, Councillor Meyer. Mr. Gessel, anything to add on that?
No, I don't. You are correct in that.
So just to be clear, because there was a change in occupancy, that it's now being used as a commercial business, even though it's a house in a commercial zone?
The change of use as a commercial entity, it requires the paving of the lots.
But currently it's a house, a residential house.
It's a residential house with a gravel driveway. Okay. Although I may ask operations to comment if that driveway will be, the driveway access will be paved with our Saskatchewan Avenue project. I actually don't know that for sure.
Yes, the portion of the driveway on city property will be concrete once the project is completed.
Thank you. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Worship. Question to administration in the report. I'm not clear what the recommendation is. It's we can do this or we can do that. What there are concerns from the department regarding the graveling not matching the aesthetics. Can we just get is there a definitive? There's no definitive recommendation on this project. Is that
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Massey, the recommendation from administration is the first directly under administrative. Under the administrative recommendation would be to decline the application. There's concerns from administration that there's a substantial Saskatchewan Avenue renovation project that we are upgrading the aesthetic of the entire avenue, and there's concerns that a commercial business with a gravel parking lot would not be in the spirit of that project. So administration's recommendation is for council to decline the application. The reason we add, it's unusual for the administrative recommendation to be in the negative from a procedural point of view. So we want to make sure that council had, and if they wanted to approve in the affirmative, an alternate resolution. So that is why you're seeing two resolutions where typically you just see the administrative recommendation. The reason being, if you decline the administrative recommendation, which is worded in the negative, it implies that you are approving. So if council were to defeat, this is getting a little bit into procedural, but if you were to defeat the administrative recommendation, you would still need to carry the alternative recommendation.
Thank you.
I will ask if there's anyone else in here to speak against the application. Is there anyone here with any questions? Yeah, you can come ahead. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Arsh.
Hi, everyone. So I think they're fair questions, and we're okay to find a way to work together on that. Like they said, they don't want people when they come, like customers, or to rent cars like in front of their property. We can potentially move it to the other side, so that way it's facing the motel, and it has nothing to do with that. And I'm more than happy to do the fence, so that shouldn't be a problem for them either. And as far as paving goes, I completely understand the aesthetic appeal of it. So we could still do some part of it if that is required, with the provision that we do the entire thing going like in a few months. The only thing is right now also when we got the property, it was in a really bad shape, to the point where some of the papers for the property were also missing, like including just the sizes of things, measurements. So I had to get all of that done again, which costed us substantial amounts as well. So yeah, so whatever your decision here, we would honor that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any letters to read?
We received one letter opposed from Barb Cameron, who said, I am in receipt of correspondence from your office dated June 7th, 2024 regarding the above mentioned. I do not support the request for the following reasons. Number 1, impediment towards current construction and future planning of sidewalk and curb. 2, risk to both pedestrian and vehicle hazard. 3, flying dust. 4, unnecessary visual impediment. Thank you for the consultation and opportunity to respond to this request.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else before we close the public hearing? Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship to planning, Chair of Planning. Am I correct in seeing this map properly that it's just going to be 4 parking spots in front of the existing house on the property?
That is correct. That was what was presented to us. This was a sketch that Mr. Arch provided for us. We tried to clean it up as best we could, as we couldn't get a clearer view ourselves. But the idea was to have 4 parking spots for 4 cars. When I spoke to Mr. Arch again today, he informed that he would never have more than 4 cars on the lot at once. So that's why the request for 4 parking spots.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arsh, you can come ahead. Yep. I can see your hand go up back there.
So sorry, this is gonna only take a second. So I forgot to completely address 2 things. So even in the drawing there, even from their property lines, the cars will be like at least 5 to 10 feet away. And we don't have any spillage of oils or anything like that because they're rentals, and usually they go for claims, so they're away for months. So there is no need for them to just be sitting on the property. So just
Thank you. Councillor Doyle?
I just have a question for the applicant, if you could just come back up there. Thank you, Your Worship. The actual rental process, will it be happening out of the existing house or out of the motel?
yes, so it'll be happening outside of the existing house.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. If council does vote this down, how long does the applicant actually have required to pave the lot?
Mr. Pito?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Meyer, if council declines this application, it would be my assumption that they could not move forward as a commercial entity in that residential home that would require parking. But I will defer to Mr. Gessel to see if he has anything to add.
Can I just get you to repeat that, please?
You bet, Mr. Gissel. If the variation is denied and the applicant needs to pave that lot, what's the timeline required for him to actually have that paved?
There would not be a timeline until the business is up and running. So the minute the business is up and running and it has occupancy, there needs to be a paved lot. If there's no occupancy, there cannot be a business in place, so the lot would not be paved until that point.
Thank you.
That would be a requirement to obtain occupancy.
Thank you. Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess my question is it even an option for us to grant more time if occupancy can't be permitted without the paved parking lot?
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Espy. A lot of good questions tonight coming from you, Councillor Espy. Potentially, council could put a condition on the approval that it would be paved within a given time period. And if the applicant did not match that time period, they would not be permitted to operate a commercial enterprise out of their home. That would be out of this property, I should say. I believe that would be I believe that could be potentially amended motion. I would probably get another chance to confirm Mr. Gessel in terms of the powers to actually enforce that before I would give firm advice. But
We will give you a minute to do that. Thank you.
thank you. Through your worship, back to Councillor Espy. So I just had a discussion with Mr. Gessel, and he brought up a very good point. So you can add conditions to an approval, but the challenge with adding conditions to an approval is those conditions have to be met before you get occupancy. So if the intention, I think the intention was you allow for them to move forward as a business, but then within 6 months they pave. Well, they couldn't get occupancy until all the conditions were fulfilled in a motion, so they couldn't actually operate as a business in that 6 months. So I understand the intention. I don't think there's a way to work around that provision.
Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, that's very helpful and definitely will play a role in my decision.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll ask for a motion to... Oh, Councillor Nichols?
Just one question, Your Worship, through to Mr. Arsh. Is there an opportunity for the business that you have beside to park those vehicles till at such a time as you can pave the lot properly?
We do.
Thank you, Your Worship.
So then you would run the rental business out of the highway motel, is that what you're saying?
We can potentially do that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation PC 30-24 for Gaidu, 101-77133 Manitoba Limited, 2006 Saskatchewan Avenue now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, Council, I know as you've so eloquently heard from all the parties involved, this is a request for a variation. The issue is to vary the requirement of a paved parking lot surface to a gravel lot surface. Alternatives, as always, approve the application or deny the application, or as I understand, there can also be conditions added. Am I correct in that?
If the motion is read with those conditions, yes, or amended.
Yeah. So the background, as you've already heard, the building is in a C3 Avenue commercial zone. My understanding is that it is a requirement to be paved because it has changed occupancy and it is now a commercial business. Previous applicants have been denied the gravel lot request before, as it was felt to be fair and keep consistent within the city that this request be treated the same. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and we read out the objection, and we certainly heard the objections of the people in council. So it's administrative recommendation, and I'm going to read it this way. I'm going to read it in the positive, so that we're clear. So that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Smashir Singh Gaidu, 101-77133 Manitoba Limited. The vary requirement of a parking lot surface to a gravel parking lot surface at the property known at 2006 Saskatchewan Avenue West, which is legally described as lots 3-4, Plan 20 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Worship. I will not, at this point in time, be supporting this. I just do want to be clear that as much as, from my chair, I support what we can try to do to certainly help our commercial businesses and our commercial business community. I just can't see any way coming across this where I could, even with any kind of conditions added to it, approve it in this form. So I will not be supporting this motion, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will not be supporting this either, but I must say that Mr. Arsh, I commend you in terms of speaking with your neighbor and some of their concerns that you have addressed with them, and I think that's very important. And as we go forward and the avenue completes it out, and what it's going to look like at this point, I think that what you said about finding an alternative spot for your to help run your business until such a time, but at this point, if this is defeated, I'm not supporting this motion right now. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Porter?
And I will echo Councillor Nichols. I will not be in support of this motion either. And hopefully you could find that solution, because we want to see you succeed. So, but if there is another option, go with that, because that would be your best bet. And we want to see your business flourish, but we also want it in a way that's going to be good for you and your neighbors. And again, I echo what Councillor Nichols says, is that I admire your communication with your neighbor and the relationship, and yep, so maybe something can get worked out in the future, but to get your place paved. So thank you for coming. And but I am not in support of the variation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Sorry, the public hearing's closed, Mr. Arsh. So, I just would say I'm excited about your business, because until today I was like, wow, we need that business in Portage la Prairie. So I hope it's successful for sure. But I agree is that we have set standards for our Saskatchewan Avenue, and as though it's tough, we need to sort of keep with those. And that again is the reason that I would want this business to be required to have the paved parking lot. So if no other questions, I'll remember this is a motion to allow for the parking lot to not be paved. That's what's out there right now. Okay. All those in favor? All those against? And that is defeated. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we move into Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report in this part of the meeting.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing to report at the time.
Thank you. Community Services Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee. Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to report at this portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Transportation Committee. Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee. Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety has no report this evening.
Thank Thank you. We have no items of deferred business. We will move right into new business. We have the 2023 audited financial statements. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship and colleagues. As you heard earlier, we received our report from the auditors on our December 31, 2023 audit. This evening, we are to review and approve the audited consolidated financial statements for the 12-month period ending December 31, 2023. And as you saw in the audit, the City of Portage la Prairie 2023 financial results support surpluses of $1.6 million for the general fund and $2.1 million for the utility fund, comparable to pre-audit results reported to Council at the meeting on March 25th, 2024. The surpluses will be allocated as follows. For the general fund, the 2023 surplus will be allocated to the general reserve to fund a large portion of the $4.6 million in capital requests for 2025 as identified on the city's 10-year capital plan. For the utility fund, the 2023 surplus will be allocated to the utility reserve to fund a portion of the $87.8 million in capital requests for 2025 identified on the 10-year capital plan, which includes major plant upgrades. The city continues to be committed to its community by investing in the upgrade and addition of new tangible capital assets. $28.9 million in new tangible assets were added in 2023, with the largest investments being made in infrastructure. As you know, the city contracted an independent auditors, BDO Canada, LLP, and have met with council to review and answer questions regarding the draft financial statements in further detail, as is standard audit practice. Upon approval of the statements, our statements will be filed with the province of Manitoba and posted on the city's public website. The administrative recommendation, and I would move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the audited consolidated financial statements for the 12 months ended December 31, 2023.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any questions or comments from Council? Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship and colleagues. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, what a great audit and a great job of our staff. No recommendations for changes, a very clean audit, and I just want to thank our staff in the finance department, especially who worked on this with the auditors, and I think we got a good report that the working relationship was excellent. The other thing I do want to mention is people often ask, well, we have a few surpluses there, and you know, should we reducing water rates or different things? And the answer to that, as you can see, is we have a very large capital investment to make in the coming years if we want to have our city continue to meet and grow and meet the infrastructure challenges. And so that's why the reserves the surpluses are put into our reserves so that we can continue to build on our infrastructure down the road. So I'm very pleased to support this recommendation, obviously, and I just wanted to give a great thanks to our staff. It's a great audit in the city. The people of Portage la Prairie should be assured that the books of the City of Portage are in very good shape when it comes to the audit. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Anything else? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, another item of new business. We have City Hall closure for renovations, and this is Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. And colleagues, in your package, you have a report. This is for your information only, but I think it's really important that council and the public are aware of our plans while City Hall is closed for renovations, and that'll be coming up shortly. As you know, City Hall will be temporarily closed beginning Thursday, June 27th at 12 p.m. with an anticipated completion date of September 30th, 2024 for Phase 2 of the City Hall Accessibility Project, a great project for our City Hall. Phase 1 involved the installation of a ramp and service counter to make the first floor accessible to people with mobility limitations. Phase 2 will extend this work to the second floor to make council meetings and other events more accessible. And the project has been approved for a $100,000 grant from the Federal Enabling Accessibility Fund. Improvements include the installation of a lift elevator from the first floor to the second floor, construction of new accessible washrooms on the second floor, and door modifications for accessibility. Other improvements that will be made during the closure include new flooring and paint throughout the first and second floors, updates to the first floor washrooms, new window coverings, a new front counter, and fire shutters for the windows above the ramp that was completed in phase 1. The lift will be constructed where the vaults currently exist on the first and second floors, and the vault doors, which are beautifully painted and have historic value, will be preserved and hung in another area of the building. The existing washrooms will be replaced with 2 gender-neutral washrooms, one of which will be fully accessible. The wood doors going into council chambers will be preserved, but it will be modified for accessible passage. So beginning on July 2nd, 2024, the public can visit our temporary office. This is very important when you're talking to our citizens. Right across from City Hall at 60 Saskatchewan Avenue East. And that's our new community safety office. So very important that the public will still get service from City Hall, but at a different location. And that's where we'll have the frontline staff will be available to assist with in-person inquiries and services. A variety of e-services and online payment options are available to ensure uninterrupted access to services as well. And for more information, visit our website or call our City Hall 239-8309. Our mailing address, email addresses, and phone numbers remain the same throughout the closure. So the July, August, and September council meetings, and this is also very important for people coming to make delegations to our council, will take place in the Prairie Fusion Art Gallery at 11-2nd Street Northeast. And of course, we appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we go through this construction, but it will make our City Hall accessible. And I think that's a great accomplishment for our city. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, thank you. We'll move into another item of new business, May Building Reports, City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm proud, of course, bring the May 2024 building report. Council, of course, you know in front of you, you get the reports separated both between the RM and the City of Portage la Prairie. As usual, we are a regional organization, so I always draw your attention to the combined report. And being brief, you're just still going to see some increases year over year, which some, of course, are significant. You're going to see that the total permits are up over 20%, and the total dollar value is significantly higher. As we know, the institutional, or which is the Portage General Hospital now, accounts for majority of that. But if you remove that out just to normalize it, you still are going to see that the permits are up over year. Once again, I know I get excited when I talk about it. It just goes to show you that from an economic standpoint, this is the shovel to the ground. Just a couple of the highlights to point out. Repair is up significantly. I point that out every year because it does, or every month, because it does show significant investment back into our community, especially residential homes. Anybody that's adding a deck or doing something else that's going to improve their home or have some structural changes does need to apply for the permit, and that's where that shows as well. I won't get too much into farm buildings because I still think that lettuce grows on the shelves at Safeway, but I do understand farm buildings a little bit. I'm kidding. And then, of course, the other thing I always like to point out is the cottage industry, which is our RTMs, ready to move homes. So that is up over year as well, which certainly shows some increase in that area. So 115 permits for the year at 286 million compared to 88 last year at 36 million. So it is a significant difference.
Thank you.
And unless there's any questions?
Any questions for Councillor Meyer? No? Okay, thank you. We have another item of new business, a reconciliation ceremony and special meeting of council, community services, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Worship. The councils of the City of Portage la Prairie and Dakota Plains are holding a reconciliation ceremony at the Arbor at Dakota Plains on Wednesday, June 26th at 4 p.m. In 1911, City Council passed a resolution to have Dakota people removed from city limits. The resolution was racially motivated and sent a clear message that First Nations people were not welcome in our community. Our current council has made it top priority to take meaningful steps in reconciliation with our Indigenous partners. Part of that process is acknowledging our city's past actions. We cannot move forward unless we speak about our past, understand how it has impacted the Dakota people, and learn from it as a community. Council wishes to formally apologize to the Dakota people and move forward toward rebuilding relationships. To further recognize the importance of this step to reconciliation, Council's resolution will include naming a green space on Island Park Dakota Oyate Park, meaning Dakota people. It will be marked with a commemorative plaque to help educate current and future generations. Everyone is welcome to attend the reconciliation ceremony and special meeting of council. It will also be recorded and viewable later on the city's YouTube channel, but I would really like to see as many people as possible attend in person.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. We have another item of new business, contract award for water pollution control facility office roof replacement, Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, in front of you, you have a recommendation to award the contract for the replacement of the roof, of the office building roof of the water pollution control facility, as specified in tender 24 OPS 025. A tender was issued for the replacement of this said roof at the water pollution control facility on May 10th, 2024. The tender closed on June 11th, 2024. 13 copies of the tender were requested, and 5 bids were received. And of those 5, 4 met the mandatory requirements specified in the tender, and they were opened. The bidders are, as they're in your packages, they're tableized here. Nomando Roofing scored 96.56 out of 100 points. McCallum Roofing, 78.66 points out of 100. Master Roofing, 72.87 out of 100. And Flynn Roofing, 54.92 out of 100. Based on the evaluation criteria, Normando Roofing achieved the highest score. They have completed several other roofing projects of similar scope and size, including other city-owned buildings. The 2024 operating budget has $80,000 allocated for the roof replacement. Approval has been received to incorporate this work into the water pollution control upgrade project with Investing in Canada Infrastructure Plan funding. So therefore, the city's share of costs will be 26.67% or $64,765. So it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie award the contract for the water pollution control facility office roof replacement as specified in tender 24 OPS 025 to Normando Roofing for $242,838 net of GST. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Councillor Porter. Any questions or comments? Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. Question to administration, just the price difference between even number 1 and number 2, but especially number 1 through number 4. I'm just wondering, in the past, has there been additional fees, additional charges over and above the quoted amount? Because there seems to be quite a bit of difference between all the prices. So I'm just wondering if that's something that comes up after the fact.
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Doyle. So the bids should be based on the same level of work to the same quality, and that's the intention of our bid system. There's definitely one bid that is noticeably higher, and in the bid form there was an error about the understanding of the size of the project, and they bid incorrectly on the project, but it still was technically a valid bid, so it was included in the overall tender package. So they had bid, just a clarification, they bid basically twice the amount of work that we were asking for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, one last item of new business. We have water supply and sale agreement, Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op for Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Worship. Council, in front of you, what you have in this report is water supply and sale agreement. So the issue is to approve the water supply and sale agreement as presented regarding the supply of potable water to the Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op. So what's going on is we have an agreement regarding the supply and sale of water to the Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op, and that was signed in 2004, amended again in 2008. With the construction, though, of Poplar Bluff Water Reservoir and secondary supply line, it was necessary to make considerable amendments to the agreement. City administration has worked with the RM of Portage la Prairie, the Water Services, Manitoba Water Services Board, and the Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op to develop the attached water supply sale and agreement. So the agreement identifies the roles and responsibilities of each partner. The agreement was presented to the Yellowhead Regional Water Committee Board on Tuesday, June 18th, and there was no concerns with it, as noted. If resolved by our council here tonight, this agreement will be presented for RM council on June 25th for their consideration, and we'll move forward from there. So it's administrative recommendation, and I so move that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the water supply and sale agreement as presented to supply potable water the Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op, to the Yellowhead Regional Water Co-op, sorry. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Councillor Porter. Any questions or comments on this? Councillor Nichols?
Thank you. And in attached in your package, you'll see that agreement. It's a well drawn out agreement, and it talks about the different steps and the pricing per those steps, and it's all there for your perusal. Thank you.
Thank you. If nothing else, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no items of old business, so I will adjourn council at 7:11 p.m. We will move right into committee. Call committee to order at 7:12 p.m. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report in committee this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of items on the agenda tonight. One, of course, Council, if you remember back a while ago, and fills in nicely with our strategic plan and our 5 steps, and falls into the quality of life, where we continue to try to work with the developers to create better communities. Council had passed an infill development rebate initiative. And once that had happened, and I know we'd spoke to that earlier, I won't go through all of the slides, but the initiative is up there. Council had directed administration to come up with a, we'll call it an advertising plan, or a plan to certainly let people be aware of what it is, in addition to an application process. So all we're doing here tonight, Council, is just presenting to you what's come up, and this is my understanding what you'll see going forward. Is that correct, Mr. Pito?
That's correct. So developers will have the opportunity to get the information, also the application form, and of course, if they have any questions, we can handle that through our property department here at the city.
You bet. And not to belabor it, but just to kind of really quickly what it is, we know the Infill Development Rebate Initiative is designed to promote infill development through existing places that are obviously already serviced or have been serviced in the past. The objective, we already understand what that is. It offers rebates to our developers in order to obviously promote the infill housing development. We'll go through that. The application process, I think, is probably the most important thing. The application process, or the application, is there for your reference. And if there's any questions, you can certainly direct them to Mr. Pito, but the application is pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Any questions on that?
Any questions for Councillor Meyer? No?
I have one other item, Your Worship. One of our council members had attended our last chamber meeting, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Councillor Massey to quickly discuss that.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Just a quick report. As the chamber rep for the city of Portage, I attended their regular board meeting, and this is in addition to the monthly meeting the mayor, myself, and city manager have with their executive. This is their full board. Talked a lot about the infill development policy, the new policy, the community safety officer program. They had some questions about the walking path in the west end of Portage la Prairie, and just a good dialogue. they invite a number of stakeholder groups, but I really appreciate the relationship the city has with the Chamber of Commerce. It's probably very open. They're very supportive of many of the initiatives of our city, which is great to hear. And I just wanted to report to council that probably from past councils, this relationship has been built, and it's a great relationship. I've seen Chamber sometimes in an adversarial relationship with city councils, but this is a very positive one. And big thanks, of course, also go to our mayor and city manager who meet with them and answer a lot of their questions when we meet monthly. So I was pleased to attend that board meeting on behalf of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. And Your Worship, unless there's any other questions, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Okay, Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a couple of things tonight, and the first thing I will do is, through Your Worship, throw it back to Councillor Massey to speak on a couple of events.
Thank you, Councillor Espy. And I know some of you also attended these, but I just wanted to give you my perspective on these. These were very, very good events. I was pleased to go along. I think Councillor Meyer was there as well at an anti-racism event at the Residential Museum. It was a very, very well-run meeting, and we saw videos on racism and what it means to people. It had quite an impact on me, and I know Councillor Meyer as well thought it was a very good meeting. So it was great to see us participate in that event. The Filipino Heritage Day was on. I was pleased to also be there. The mayor was there, and I can report the mayor and I danced along with the Filipino community, had a great time. They love to have a good time, and I think they formed their official association. Great to see for our city, but I was very pleased to see, and I must say our mayor represented us well on the dance floor. She just was amazing. I also attended the National Indigenous Peoples Day last Friday. Very good event, and man, it was a great day and just a great time there. And I thought it was great to chat with a lot of the people there and just talk about some of the initiatives of our city and trying to build the relationships with our Indigenous partners. So it was a great. And lastly, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor Porter and I attended the Walk for Autism, and Deputy Mayor Porter gave a little opening remarks, and I must say, I said to her that day, that was one of the most meaningful remarks I've ever heard, of making that event very special to them. And I congratulate you, Councillor Porter, Deputy Mayor Porter. But it was to raise awareness of autism, and it was a great event. We walked, and just had a great time with them. And Austin, the representative for the Walk for Autism, was, of course, the highlight, and he's just a very special person in our community. So those are the events. It was a busy June, and I know some of you were at these other events as well, but I just wanted to give you my perspective on those events. They were great for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Councillor Espy.
Next up in the Community Services Committee, I would like to call upon Councillor Nichols.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Espy. Through Your Worship, I got the honor to meet up with a holiday project crew and the Manitoba local Manitoba BT Federation. They've combined efforts and got down into the ground and dug and hauled stone and planted some wonderful flowers and really did a nice job in a canoe. So this canoe is in the boulevard, the median between Saskatchewan Avenue, right in front of Westgate Hotel. As we enter our wonderful city, the beautification of it is it's nice to see as it grows up. It's going to be very, very noticeable. And yeah, so as you drive down our avenue and head east to town, have a look. That was a great collaboration with those partners, and they've done a wonderful job, and I was proud to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Espy.
And my last item is just a question that's been coming up a little bit lately, a lot of bit lately. When are we starting mosquito fogging?
Mr. Pito?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Espy, I'll ask our Director of Operations to speak about our mosquito spraying policy and how, when, and where we spray.
Yes, so we are definitely getting into the season, that's for sure. So a number of things play into when we start. Trap counts are one thing. We also look at the standing water, which is also is quite significant at this point. Temperatures, when you get warmer temperatures, you're more likely to get mosquito hatch. So we are looking at, we're getting prepared to do it. We are getting both of our sprayers, our brand new one and our old one, calibrated, so we're ready to go as soon as everything lines up, which could be very soon. But I can't give you an exact date yet, but we will be prepared to do it later this week if needed.
Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. Is it possible that the trap counts aren't up because the mosquitoes are too big to fit into the traps these years?
It very well could be. Yeah. Excellent. Anything else, Councillor SP?
No, Your Worship, that concludes my report.
Perfect. I can tell you though, if you've seen on the TikTok where they teach you to burn coffee grinds, it actually seems to help if you like the smell of burnt coffee. That's the problem. Yeah, I agree. Okay, Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report, but I would like to just mention that despite the wet conditions, Saskatchewan Avenue is certainly starting to look a lot more like a finished product. The landscaping is beautiful, the sidewalks, the curbs, even our side streets. So it's really starting I've heard a lot of comments from people coming from out of town that I've run into. There was a lady we were talking today that she hadn't been here for a while and she couldn't believe how beautiful it looked when she drove down here. But she was a little late getting here because of the situation for closure down by Headingley. But she sure was impressed when she came to Portage. So just thought I'd like to let you know that. And thank you again for all that communication that you send to us. And Jocelyn, I think it's very important to our community, and they thank you for that because they do watch for that. And if anybody else has got anything to add, that's all I got.
Thank you, Councillor Porter. I agree with you about people watching for that update. So, yeah, awesome. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a few really quick things because the Game 7 of the NHL Stanley Cup is tonight, so it's about to start in a couple minutes. But I would just like to remind everyone that the Community Safety and Wellbeing Survey is out. The link is posted on our website. It's being shared across all of our social media. As of Friday, we were just over 1,000 surveys filled out so far. So please click that link and fill it out. Takes about 10 minutes or so. And we want everyone to fill it out, whether you live here, you work here, you visit here. We'd like that raw feedback from everyone so we can help develop our plan. And if you fill it out and decide to leave your email address, you can win one of 5 $50 gift cards. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the community safety officers hosted a free public barbecue just shy of 2 weeks ago, and with donations, there was $622 raised, which went to the COPP program and the Portage Bear Clan program. So thank you to everyone who came out for that. And the third and final thing I will say is I just want to remind everyone that the city of Portage has school zones and speed limits in place, and they remain active throughout the entire year. So I know lots of jurisdictions, they're about to stop their school speed zone limitations at the end of this month. However, the city of Portage they remain in place all throughout the summer. There's lots of kids out during the summer. They use those playgrounds at the schools. So please slow down and watch out for kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Great reminder. I just want to thank council who attended events on council's behalf and in my place. I really appreciate it. And then counselors that attend, we attend events together. I think it's great. And I know honestly we have so many things happening in our community and meetings and exciting things that I really appreciate when you help and step up and make sure that our council's represented throughout our community, because I certainly know and I hear it that our community really appreciates it. So thank you very much, and go whichever team you want to win tonight. So go Oilers. And we'll adjourn committee at 6:25, 7:25. Thank you.